Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. It was a beautiful day today. I hope it was beautiful wherever you guys are. And today we are making a wrap bracelet. Actually, it's a bracelet that I had so many requests to bring back. I am not bringing it back in exactly the way it was. I have updated it, and now we have Ocean Bloom bracelet. So this is what it looks like. Actually, I'm going to grab a different one. I'll grab this one. So this is the Ocean Bloom bracelet. And I have to tell you guys, so I should have grabbed other samples. You know, hindsight is 2020. So I have multiple samples that I have made of these fun little Tyler wraps, and they have been so popular. So this is probably the third or the fourth incarnation of this bracelet. And of course, what makes this one really different is this shell as the focal point of the bracelet. Oh, again, hindsight is 2020. I probably should have grabbed some of the earrings as well, but I didn't. Anyway, guys, we're still going to have a good time.
Ellen says, hi, Irina and everyone.
Hi, Ellen, and thank you for joining us.
And Linda S. says hello.
Hello, Linda. Okay, ladies, so we are making a 3-wrap bracelet. Again, it's called Ocean Bloom, and I have it in 3 different colorways.
Trudy says, hello all.
Hi, Trudy.
Katie S. says, good evening all. I'm looking forward to making this bracelet to match my earrings.
Yay! Thank you so much, Katie. I'm so glad you have the earrings. And you know what? I do feel badly for not grabbing the earrings. However, if anybody wants to see what the earrings look like, you can just look in the Etsy shop. And I believe we call them Ocean Bloom as well. So by the same name, and just type that in and you will find the earrings.
Ellie says, hi, can't wait to see you construct this one. Ordered mine a short while ago.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Ellie. Which one did you order? Which one is your favorite? Here, I'll put them all on my wrist so that everybody can see all 3, and I'll tell you who is who. So we have Bombay Blossom, we have Wine Blossom, and we have Spring Meadow.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Pammy J says, good Thursday evening. Irina, Tony, Lauren, and all.
Yay, thank you so much, Pammy J, and the same to you.
Brenda says, good evening.
Hi, Brenda. Okay, ladies, so I'm going to put all 3 right here in front of me, and we will get started. So, you know, I have to tell you, I do find making these very, just very soothing and contemplative. It's so, I don't know, there's just something about both playing with the colors and knotting. Well, I always find knotting just very fun, very zen. It always just makes me relax when I sit down and make a knotted project. So there's just a little bit of knotting in this bracelet, but mostly you know what it's about. It's about playing with color, which is everything that we all love to do, right?
Allie says, I ordered the Ocean Bloom to match the earrings from earlier this summer.
Oh, fantastic. Wait a minute.
Oh, maybe
Ocean Bloom?
Ocean Bloom is the earrings, but I think wine.
Yeah,
Maybe
Wine Bloom. Wine
blossom.
Blossom, that's it. So that would be this one. Yay, thank you so much. Okay, guys, so we are going to get started. So I will say, you probably already know this, but here is my focal point piece. So these are actual shells. This is what they look like on the back. They're a natural shell with these just beautifully ingenious decals that make these shells look hand painted. Literally, they look hand painted and they hold up really well and they're absolutely gorgeous. And because each shell is just a little bit unique, there is going to be a little variation, which is why I'm showing you where the pattern may fall slightly differently depending on the size and shape of the shell. And these are the lovely cowrie shells, which I absolutely love to work with.
Ellie says, yes, the wine blossom.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, that's, I have to say, well, they're all my babies, but I do love that one.
Kim K says, happy Thursday.
Hi, Kim, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Connie says, hello, everyone. Fun bracelets.
Yay, thank you so much, Connie. I'm so glad you joined us. All right, guys, so when you get your kits, you are going to have 8 feet of Ceylon per kit. That's a lot of Ceylon, and you may or may not need the entire length. But the very first thing we're going to do is we're just going to fold it in half, find the center, and cut the Ceylon into 2 sections of 4 feet each. And I know it sounds like it's way too much, but you know, just trust me, it's really not way too much. So, you know, even if you have a fairly small wrist, you're still going to need about 7 feet at least. So I would probably just keep the entire length for right now. And we'll talk in a little bit about sizing. But in the meantime, I'm about to make a self needle with each one of the 4 ends. And I know that those of you who watch me regularly, you have seen this like a shmillion times. But as you know, these videos serve as directions. So we will just do this for a shmillion and first time. So as you can see, what I'm doing is putting a little bit of super glue glue on each one of the ends, just a tiny little amount, and then we're using a folded piece of paper to remove as much as we possibly can. And if you hear that little squeak, that's good because that means we're removing most of it. So I'm just going to do that with the 2 remaining ends.
Jane says they're also pretty.
Thank you so much, Jane.
And Patricia says, hello all, love these colors.
Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. So I feel like these are all about the colors we love. And at first glance, I think they look very similar. But, you know, the more you look at them, the more you realize that they are slightly different color combos. So this is my last end, and I'm just going to wipe this off and put the cap back on my super glue. And now we can start trimming all the ends. And I'm going to start with the first couple of ends because these should be dry. So they're still a little bit tacky actually. Maybe this one, yeah, this one is definitely drier. So they do dry very, very quickly. And when I cut the ends off, I use my regular cutter, my wire cutter actually. This is the best wire cutter in the world. It cuts everything. And well, don't cut memory wire with it though. And I'm just going to cut the Ceylon at a nice angle, so about a 45-degree angle, just so we can make this little point at the end of the Ceylon. And it's just like a little needle that we just created, hence a self needle.
Linda S. says, just bought a kit.
Oh, yay! Thank you so much, Linda. And which one was your favorite?
Angela says, good evening.
Hi, Angela. Yeah, so tell me, you guys, which ones are your favorites? I always love to know what you like.
Kim K says, so happy and fun. Love these.
Thank you so much, Kim. Okay, guys, so we just created 4 self needles with each one of the ends. And now we're going to, and by the way, I know I said that the length is 8 feet and you cut it into 2 segments of 4. And I'm working with a slightly shorter length, just so you know. If it appears too short, it is because mine is a bit shorter. But only because I am trying not to hit the cameraman in the face. You know, if you have a really long segment of Ceylon, you might just be flailing about. So, you know, keep that in mind. But you know what? Flailing is fun. Okay, so I just created a little lark's head knot with this side of the Ceylon, and let me do the same thing, and let's just talk about how we're going to do this. So this is what I'm doing. I am putting both of my Ceylon ends together right here, and I'm going into the opening. You see how there's a little opening in the shell. So I'm going right into that opening with both ends of my Ceylon, and the 2 ends are going to come out right through this loop that I'm creating. And that is really all there is to a lark's head knot. So it's almost not even a knot, it's just a loop. And let's tug on both ends just to make it nice and snug. That's it. So now we have our focal point shell, and it's nicely anchored, and we're going to start building our bracelet around it. So what I'm going to do is just move my 2 bracelets for now, and leave this guy right here, since we're making one that's very similar. And so we need the sample for a little inspiration. So the first thing I'm going to do is tie a couple of knots on one side, leaving anywhere between, say, 2 and 4 millimeters length from the shell. So this happens to, well, actually, maybe this is closer to 5 millimeters. So whatever, really, it's really quite flexible. It doesn't have to be the exact length. So the best way to do this is try to place the 2 knots at the same length, right? So you see how the 2 knots are pretty parallel to one another. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So there's going to be, now that I have already established the length, I will just go for something very, very similar. And I am using this red hot Ceylon. That's actually the name of the color of the Ceylon. It's red hot. And it's a really pretty red, which is why I do not mind having a little exposed Ceylon. In fact, that is true for all of the colors. I picked the Ceylon to you know, to create even a little more contrast color-wise. So the Ceylon in this case is not just, I'm just showing you where the knots are right here. So the Ceylon, of course, for these bracelets is not simply just a stringing material, but it's actually one of the wonderful, colorful elements. So that's why I love Ceylon so much. That is because, well, it just contributes so much, not only as a stringing material and a texture, but also color-wise. It's beautiful. They make so many beautiful colors in Ceylon. And now I am putting out some of my beads on my work surface. And so what we're using for this bracelet are some tilas, some half tilas. Well, actually, I have some quarter tilas in this row. I have some tilas, and now we'll have a few half tilas. And the way, of course, that I picked colors for these projects is for the most possible contrast that we can get. So I'm just laying out all these wonderful beads in front of me. And this way I can see my entire palette at a glance.
Carmen says, hi all.
Hi, Carmen, and thanks for joining us today.
And Connie says, love your Ceylon, but could you also use waxed linen if it goes through the beads? Love your colors.
Thank you so much. You know, that's a great question. I am not familiar with the wax Ceylon you're using or with the brand of wax Ceylon. So I will just agree with your own statement. If the waxed, wait a minute, Ceylon, no, wax Ceylon, not Ceylon, linen. Did you say linen? Waxed linen?
Yes, waxed linen.
Yes, if it is small enough to go through the holes, you could probably use just about anything that will not. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? So as long as it's small enough to go through the hole, the only waxed linen that I am familiar with, frankly, is a little heavier than the Ceylon. So I don't think that brand, and I can't even remember what brand it is, but I don't think it would work for this type of a project. So in the meantime, I am stringing some of my quarter tilas and half tilas into a little bit of a pattern. And what I really like is these little mini patterns. So when I create these projects, what I do literally is I kind of, in my mind, I kind of deconstruct the colors that are used in the shell or whatever focal point we're using. And I literally just go looking for beads that will complement that focal point. And it doesn't mean that we're totally limited to just those colors, but I make it a point to have those colors in the project. And then if I want to supplement maybe with something else, sometimes I do. So you can certainly add other colors, but I think it's always nice to start with something that is already present in your focal point.
Linda K says, hi from California. These are beautiful.
Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate it.
And Elizabeth gives you the 2 thumbs up.
Yay! Thank you so much, Elizabeth. So what I find is that the more contrasting the beads are, the better it's going to work. So for example, I would not put the matte tila in turquoise color next to the other turquoise in the half tila, right? So that's going to be just a kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really speak to me. So I stay away from using similar colors next to one another. Also, this is a little bit of a mixed metals. In fact, each one of these is just a little bit mixed metals. So what I mean by that is that the tilas and some of the half tile, or actually no, the half tilas and the quarter tilas that we are using in this project, you know, is this a little bit too similar? I don't know. Let's push this right next to, yeah, maybe I'm just going to limit it to just one white. White is great, you know, white, a little white color, just like a little silver is wonderful. But sometimes too much, especially right next to the silver, it kind of blends into one another. So I think I'm just going to start using a different color, like maybe this fun little mustard guy. I love the little bit of mustard color in the focal point. So we'll just play with that a little bit. And maybe I will switch to just all half tilers for the next segment. So just, play with the beads, see what makes you happy. Like this type of contrast really does make me happy. So I'm just going to create another little mini pattern. And sometimes I might have a mini pattern and then maybe just a single bead of a color. And then I'll go back to a different mini pattern. So again, it's all about just play with the beads and see what makes you happy. And I like to make these little mini patterns anywhere between, or actually not the mini patterns, but the segments, right? So the actual segments. So I like to make these anywhere between, say, 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches, or even 1.75 inches. And I'll show you in a minute in my bracelet, these segments. Oh, this was a boo-boo. Okay, well, good thing we can always change. It's just beads. You can always take it off as long as we haven't knotted just yet. I didn't intend to have two of these little mustard beads next to one another.
Carol says, hello, everyone.
Hi, Carol, and thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so I'm really quite happy with this little segment. And if I feel that I have enough beads right here, I might just knot it off. So again, we are going to have 2 knots side by side, and we're going to try to get really close to our bead. So our last half tila in this case, so that there's no gap, but also try not to make it really, really tight, because if you make it too tight, then it's just not going to want to curve around your wrist. So that is not what we're going for. Okay, guys, so we have just completed one segment. And so before we go any further, let me just show you where all these segments end up. So first of all, I'm going to grab a different sample, just because, well, all will be revealed why I'm grabbing a different sample. But so here we go. So we have our focal point piece, then we have the next segment, right? Then we are going to wrap, and this is our segment number 3. And so segment number 2 and segment number 4 pretty much ends up on the other side of your wrist. So kind of keep that in mind, because of course I want to make every one of these segments really fun, but I really want to pay attention what it's going to look like once I actually wrap the bracelet. Because I mean, it's one thing, of course, we want this to be pretty, just when we're playing with it and looking at it, right? But when it's around our wrist, keep in mind that segment number 3 is right next to our focal point. So that is going to frame our focal point bead. So just design accordingly. I like all my segments to be fun. I like them all to be contrasting, but then I really pay attention to what is going to be next to the shell, so that whatever is next to the shell is extra oomph and extra, I don't know, just frames it well. So it's like extra contrasting and extra fun. So we want to frame the shell really well. So as I mentioned, for me, it worked out in such a way that I have 4 segments on each side. And you know what? I'm actually not even going to start the other side because it's going to be exactly like this one, right? So let's just talk about what happens once you have your first segment. So if you look at my little spacer beads right in between the segments, so they're meant to be kind of slidey. It's you know, it's fun. You have a little bit of movement. So these just kind of slide back and forth. And this also makes sure that I have exposed a little more of the Ceylon because again, the Ceylon is such a big part of this design. So for our spacer beads, we are using size 8/0 seed beads, and we're going to string that right over both ends of the Ceylon. Okay, we have to kind of push it through. It's a bit of a snug fit. And then we have the, I think it's either the 7/0 or the 8/0, the slightly larger one. And we'll have another one of the 8/0s.
Vonda is wondering, do you use the same amount of beads in each of the segments?
No, Vonda, I'm sorry, no, Fonda, I don't, but thank you for asking. I actually don't. So depending on what I'm using, so obviously tilas are quite a bit larger than half tilas or quarter tilas. In fact, it takes exactly 2 quarter tilas, sorry, 2 half tilas or 4 quarter tilas to equal 1 tila. Okay, so that makes sense, right? So for me, it's really more about the length of the segment rather than how many beads I have in each one. So I am now going to, again, tie another knot once I have my 3 little spacer beads. So the most important thing here is let's try to put these knots right next to one another. So that's going to make everything look nice and neat. Okay, so this is close, but we can still move this knot just a little bit. Okay, and now they're right next to one another, and we can start our next segment. So this is pretty much how you make all of the segments. So obviously, if you have a slightly larger size, you have to make a decision. Do you want to have more segments, like maybe 5 on each side? Or do you just want to make longer segments? So what I want you to know is that when you get your kit, you will actually have about 30% more beads than what I have used in each one of my samples. So you can definitely make your segments longer. And frankly, I really like the idea of 4 segments because, you know, I have played around with these bracelets quite a bit. Like I said, you know, I have made so many different variations of this bracelet already. And this was actually a request from somebody who wanted me to make another Tyler wrap so badly. So I hope you're watching.
Giovanna says, how many segments on each side and what's the size of each segment?
Yeah, Giovanna, and thank you for asking again. You must have missed the beginning, which if you get a kit, you can always rewatch. So each one of the segments is, let's get a ruler. I have a ruler right here. And let's just measure. And they're all going to vary just a little bit. So this one is just a little bit under 1 3/4 inches. And let's pick maybe a longer or a shorter one. Oh, this one is 1 3/4 inches. And this one obviously is a much shorter one. So this one is 1 1/2 inches. So anyway, there are 4 segments on either side of the focal point, and I would probably stick with 4 segments, right? So if you need to make it a little longer, just make the segments a little longer. If you need to make it a little shorter, again, you can always make the segments a little bit shorter. So you can really kind of play with it and make it the size that you need.
Pammy J says, how creative, you designed your own original spacer bead. With the beads in between.
Oh, the beads in between.
The segments.
Thank you so much, Pammy J.
I think.
Yeah, it's just so easy to use beads like this as a spacer because they have a larger hole. And since we have to get through with both ends of the Ceylon, it's very, very easy to use the 8 and 6/0 seed beads. I think maybe this is a good time to pop in one of these little green tilas. And so again, there are 4 segments on either side, and you can always play with the length of each segment. And then I'm also going to show you another little trick that I do when it comes to sizing. So let's just go ahead and finish this little segment, and then I'll show you what I do. Oh, you know what? Maybe I will insert some of these little quarter tilas in the lovely matte red. I think this is actually not a red. It's more of a pink than a red. It's very fun. So, as I was mentioning, it's really kind of important how these segments lay. So I'm about to give you a really nice little hint about creating these bracelets. And, it's not really a trick of any kind. It's literally just as you're creating your bracelet, every once in a while, in fact, more is better than less. Just try it on. Just have yourself a little fitting and see how it lays around your wrist and where all of these segments end up. Okay, so what do we think? Do we like the length of this? Maybe just a little bit longer. I think just a tiny little bit longer. I think maybe it needs a little gold half tila. So literally, just like what I'm doing, I'm making it up as I go. There's really no plan. And there's no reason you couldn't have a plan. You certainly could lay out your beads if you wanted to. But I like winging it, I pretty much wing everything, mostly in life. And so this works for me. So this is what it looks like.
Giovanna is wondering, how do I order this kit?
Thank you so much for asking, Giovanna. This is actually in our Etsy shop, and there's a link to the Etsy shop. You will find it in the comments, and I believe you will also find it in the description of the video. And I think it needs just maybe 1 or 2 more things, and then we'll tie it off and talk about both sizing and design.
Giovanna is wondering if we also sell the tila beads.
Giovanna, yes, we do indeed sell the tila beads in our brick and mortar store. However, in our Etsy shop, we only sell the kits with the tila beads. But I hope you picked your favorites. And, for a lot of people, it's just a lot easier to get a kit because you get a little bit of this, you get a little bit of that, rather than buying full tubes. Okay, guys, so now I'm just going to tie off my second segment. and we will talk about sizing and planning.
Giovanna says thank you.
My pleasure, Giovanna. Okay, guys. All right, so literally after every segment, and normally what I would be doing is I would be creating the segment right next to the shell, and then the segment right next to the shell on the other side. But, you know, just for the purposes of saving a little bit of time, I'm only doing one side. But definitely before this video is over, you will absolutely know how to create and also finish your bracelet. Okay, so this is what I'm showing you. As you create your bracelet, just go ahead and keep wrapping it. Every time you add a segment, or maybe two segments, you wrap it around your wrist and you see where your segment ends up. And when you're really paying attention to where your segment ends up and how long you want your bracelet to be, you kind of know how to adjust. Like if you feel like your segments are too short, too long, no worries. You just make your next segment a little shorter or a little longer accordingly to your own size. So for example, let me show you. When I made this one, is it this one? I think it is this one. By the time I got to my very last segment, I decided that it needs to be just a little bit shorter than my other segments. Or actually, you can really see it in this one. This is a shorter, my and segment ends up being a little shorter because when I'm really trying to size my bracelet and I'm at the very end of the bracelet on both ends, it's very easy to decide, do I want this longer? Do I want this shorter? And then you can size it in either direction. Plus also we have our little secret weapon. And that secret weapon, of course, is the extender chain. So actually, because we have the extender chain, we don't have to be really, really precise as far as sizing. And I love that part of it. So when we are finished with our bracelet, we can literally clip into any part of the extender chain as I'm about to do. And it fits. So even after it's already finished, we can still make it a little longer or a little shorter. So this is what it looks like. You know, this is so fun. These are so my colors, but of course I could say it about any one of these bracelets because, you know, in my world, the more color, the better. And so the other thing is every one of these bracelets is finished just a little differently. Not that it's finished a little differently, but the findings are just a little different, and I'll point that out at the very end. Okay, so I think that we've had enough of this technique, so maybe let's just move on. And I'm going to brush all my little beads off my work surface, and we are going to find our sample right here, because guess what? Through the magic of Facebook Live, this is just about finished. Ta-da! Except for the ends, which I'm about to show you exactly how to finish the bracelet.
Ellie says it looks great with your hoodie today.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellie. It's one of my favorite hoodies. Okay, so we have our almost finished bracelet. So here, let me show you. I have my 1, 2, 3, 4 segments because that works for all of these. And now I'm going to take my ends and put them through the loop on my lobster clasp. And this again is another opportunity to size your bracelet. You can get as close to those end beads, or you can get up to, say, an inch away. And either way, it's going to look like exactly like how you meant to do it, right? So either way, it's going to look wonderful. You could also add another set of spacer beads right here before you tie your lobster clasp on. But either way, I think you understand the whole sizing, right? So please let me know if the sizing makes sense, because I know that for some people, sizing is probably the most challenging thing. So if you have any comments about sizing, please let me know. And so we're just knotting our findings onto both ends of the string. And all I'm doing is just tying a very simple overhand knot. You've done this like a schmillion times, right? So this is all you do. You just go through your finding. So first we did the lobster, and now we're doing the extender chain. And we're simply going to form a loop and pull our ends through the loop. And that's it. How simple is that? So I'm going to tighten the knot. And now the knots are going to be just a tiny bit more exciting, because instead of a simple overhand knot, I'm going to be making surgeon's knots, which means that it starts out just like an overhand knot, but then you put the end through the loop one more time, and it becomes a slightly more decorative knot, which we call surgeon's knot. So it's a little bit more decorative, and it's also a little bit larger. So there is kind of a strategy here, because some of the spacer beads are just a little bit, the hole on them is just a little bit larger. And so because we don't want to lose our beads, I think it's really nice to make these surgeon's knots. And as you tighten the surgeon's knot, it's going to, let's move this guy a little bit. So it's going to make almost like a little figure 8. Can you guys see the figure 8? So if you have that figure 8, that means you're making exactly what you set out to do. And one more. So I think this is a good time to show you how I finished all these bracelets. So I'm going to take this one off, even though I don't really want to. I like it on my wrist. And so this one I finished with a silver lobster and 3 little silver spacers, right? So you're just going to be stringing the little silver spacers on and tying another surgeon's knot. Then we have our spring meadow, and I finished spring meadow very similarly, except it is gold toned. So if you are a gold kind of girl, as opposed to silver, you can get spring meadow. Although I will say that all 3 are just a little bit mixed metals, because I really like to accent the colors with both gold and silver. So I use both gold and silver on all 3. And our Bombay blossom is going to be a little bit different yet, just because I'm using these little hematite leaves to finish the ends. So we're going to be putting just a single one on each end. So again, if you have one of the kits, or if you're purchasing one of the kits with the little rondelle spacers, you're going to be stringing 3 rondelle spacers per end. And And if you're getting the one with the little leaves, it's just one little leaf per end.
Cheryl says, hi, everyone. I just adore these.
Oh, thank you so much, Cheryl, and hi.
Brenda is wondering about how long is your wrap. I know it will vary by wrist size, but need an average size. Thanks.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is we will measure one of these right now. So I will say you have enough string and enough beads to make it quite a bit longer than my samples. So it looks like 10 plus 9.5. So I'm just measuring this one right now. So that's 19 and wait, is that right? Yeah, so that's 19.5. And then we have our extender. So the total length, I believe, is 22.5 inches. Maybe closer to, why don't we just say 23 inches? And I believe in the description, we said that you can make it up to 27 inches, but really you can make it much longer than that even. So because, you know, you do have quite a bit of extra string. And as I mentioned, you have at least 30% more beads than what I used in the samples. So you can really make it your size. But I would say an average size is probably between 22 and 24. Because, you know, if you think about it, I don't know, what is an average wrist? Probably 7. So if you have a 7-inch wrist, okay, so let's say you have an 8-inch wrist, you're going to want 24. Plus, it's nice to have a little slack, you know, a little room for movement. You don't want this to be super, super snug on your wrist. So I hope that makes sense. Please let me know in the comments if it made any sense at all. I feel like sometimes I start explaining and I end up over-explaining, so I don't know. Okay, guys, so now I'm just snipping off all of the excess string, and that's it. We're done. So was that easy? Tell me, how easy was that? I think it's like really, really simple. And as I said, for me, you know, projects like these are just kind of very zen, and I love working on things like this. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to clasp it, and then I'm going to model it. So here's what it looks like, and I'm just going to turn it around so that you can see where the clasp is and all my little ands. So all this fun little stuff is just meant to hang down, and it's very boho, and I don't know how many times that I say the word fun, but it's really fun. So you can see it just kind of hangs down, and that's exactly what it's meant to do.
Fonda and Allie say, yes, it makes sense.
Yay, thank you so much, ladies. Okay, guys, I believe we're done. What do you think? We finished. Do you have any questions? I believe we covered it all, but maybe we didn't. So if you have any questions, this would be a great time to ask. In the meantime, we have these 3 colorways. We have Wine Blossom and Spring Meadow, and of course the one on my wrist, which I am begrudgingly taking off, that one is Bombay Blossom. To me, this just looked kind of very exotic and East Indian, so you know, with all the golds and the silvers and the colors in the focal point. But wait, there's more. So let's do a little preview of what's coming up. So before I do the preview, I will tell you that as of the 1st of September, I will be out of this country and enjoying a wonderful trip around Mediterranean. So I'm mentioning this in a few different videos just so you don't tune in on the 1st and say, wait a minute, where's Irina? Is she like slacking today? What is she doing? So I'm just telling you that I'll be gone from the 1st through the 17th. And so, so now that we've said that, here is what's coming up. So tomorrow we have a video. It's a shopping event video. It's going to be super fun. I'm focusing primarily on crystal. So both natural rock crystal, especially Herkimer or double terminated crystal. And that's going to be really, really fun. We'll have pendants, we'll have strands, but then we'll have all sorts of other fun surprises too. And then, but wait, there's always more to talk about, right? So this is our preview for next Thursday. And this I called Santa Fe Harmony Necklace. And it's been a while since we've had a gemstone necklace with multiple gemstones. And this is just really kind of fun and boho. And so anyway, this is Santa Fe Harmony. And we're doing this next Thursday, August 24th at 7 o'clock on my jewelry design page. That's the Irina Mish jewelry design page where you are right now. And then on the 25th, we'll still have another shopping event. So, and that's going to be very exciting. I can barely contain myself. It's going to be very, very exciting because I'm bringing back some of the really popular pendants which have sold out, as in like sold every last one. And we were able to get some of them in. And you know what they are. They're the Quantum Quattro and the Citrine and the Larimar and the Druzy. So that is something to look forward to. And that, I believe, is everything that's coming up. So I'll put my Santa Fe Harmony necklace right here.
Fonda says these are all such adorable.
Oh, thank you so much, Fonda. I'm so glad you like them.
Allie says, oh, have a great time.
Thank you so much, Allie.
Fonda says, have a great time. We will miss you.
Thank you so much. I'll miss you guys too, but I'm so looking forward to this vacation. It's the first one in, oh my gosh, since well before the pandemic.
Giovanna says beautiful, and Fonda says gorgeous necklace.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Carmen says enjoy your trip, and
Thank
Sarah
you,
says
Carmen.
very pretty.
Thank you so much.
Allie says so pretty, the sister necklace for the Sedona Sky.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, you remember Sedona Sky. And you know what? I loved Sedona Sky, but I have to say this one is just more me. You know, they're all my babies, and of course I love them, and I design each one of them as if I'm designing for myself, because a lot of them end up around my neck, and this one most definitely will.
Carol says happy colors, nice.
Thank you so much, Carol.
And Giovanna's wondering what kind of metal are the findings?
Thank you for asking, Giovanna. They're all base metal. So they are, in most cases, they're silver plated, but they are base metal.
Allie says, can't wait to make it. Love all the colors. Can't go wrong.
Yay, thank you so much.
Pam says, love this bracelet.
Thank you, Pam.
Carmen says, enjoy your trip.
Thank you so much, Carmen.
That.
Well, you know what? And I'll be talking about the trip, until we actually go, because I don't want anybody to be surprised in the 2.5 weeks that I'm not here. And I'm sure that when I come back, you guys will hear all about it.
Sarah says, have a great trip.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Kim K says, thanks for sharing this super fun design. Have a great night, everyone.
Yay, thank you so much, Kim. And you have a great night too. Okay, guys, I think it's that time, right? So thank you for all of your wonderful comments and questions and wishes. It really means so much to me. And have a wonderful and creative evening. I will see you tomorrow morning.